สวัสดีครับ I'm Point from ค้นพบ I'm finally back after my long extended break. I was traveling around the country a little bit, went up north to Chiang Mai, then down south to Surat Thani and Koh Samui. Actually, as a matter of fact, this video was pre-recorded and I'm still currently out of Bangkok. But I wanted to take the opportunity and reflect on something that I've been seeing a lot, noticing a lot in others as well as in myself. And that is how we oftentimes unwittingly look back into our past, the past circumstances and events and experiences in our life, and unintentionally use it to explain our current circumstances in life, but do it in a way that it actually only serves to justify and reinforce our own limiting beliefs about who we are, about how worthy we are, about how lovable we are, about what we deserve in life, about whether or not we can get or achieve that which we want, whether it's anything to do with work related, financial related, relationships, or just anything for that matter. So I've talked about this before in a video called Overcoming the Past, but I want to revisit this topic and explain it in a little bit slightly different angle. So first of all, you can tell a lot by how somebody feels, how powerful somebody feels in their life, how powerful they feel in their ability to achieve things, get things done, or cope with it and accept it if that thing should be beyond their control. We can tell this simply by the language that somebody uses. And oftentimes, if you start to pay attention, you'll notice that in other people and as well as in yourself, like in myself, you'll notice that people have this tendency or this desire to look back into their past and use it to justify their current, whatever it may be, their current misery in life, their current unhappiness in life, their current lack of results or achievements that they would like to have by now. And to share a small story, to really bring this, make this point more clear, is the other day I was talking to somebody who was struggling with a self-esteem issue, self-acceptance issue. And I noticed that in every single bit of the way they describe themselves and why they are the way they are today, they're always looking back to their past and they're always using it to justify why they're not lovable or why they cannot be happy or why they're miserable. Okay. Now, I want you to first notice why there is a human tendency in our psyche to do this. Perhaps number one, it comes from a desire to get some sense of understanding. You see, we live in a world where we train ourselves to always need to have some sort of explanation for something. But this begs the question, even if you have that explanation, does it serve you going forward into your future? In other words, does it serve you and help you to create powerful beliefs that serve to help you to feel powerful and in control of your life? And in the example of the person I was mentioning, which I won't go into detail, but it was very clear that there's that desire to find a cause for their current state of misery that they currently feel today, right? Always looking back, I've always been this way, I'm not lovable, I'm blah 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 blah. I've had past disappointments, I feel hurt because of past rejections, etc., etc., etc. So they develop a victim mindset. Now let's think about what would be the cost of holding these belief systems or self-perceptions, beliefs about oneself, and what would be the benefits. Because you have to admit there must be some sort of benefit or something to be gained. Otherwise, why would somebody continue to inflict this misery upon themselves, right? Perhaps, for example, the cost is obviously feeling misery, but perhaps the hidden gain or the benefit is at least it makes them feel certain or grounded in their sense of identity. Well, I'm miserable today, but at least if I look back into the past and find all the reasons to explain my misery today, at least I know I was right to feel this way. At least I know who I am. At least I know who I am. So this also relates to the ego, which we often talk about in many videos, but I won't go into detail here. In other words, for simplicity's sake, it could serve their sense of identity. Or maybe it could serve to make them feel right that, well, even though they're miserable today, but at least they saw it coming because they can predict it. You see what I mean? But by looking back into your past and telling yourself all these stories that you use to justify your current state of misery, do you notice how this has the counterproductive effect of only reinforcing these unhelpful, limiting, powerless beliefs? And so how can you walk forward into your future with a sense of confidence or with a sense of eagerness, enthusiasm, love for life, or hopefulness, right? And this is what I want to share briefly in today's video as an observation for you to begin to contemplate and self-reflect for yourself. In next week's video, we'll talk more in detail about how we could address these issues or what things we should consider or keep in mind. But first of all, if you'll notice that it takes a lot of emotional skill sets or a lot of control, a lot of self-awareness to, first of all, even see what's going on here. It's easier to see this in other people, but of course it's harder to see it in yourself, right? Because you believe your thoughts about why you have the lack of results or the unhappiness or the misery that you have today, that you are feeling today. You believe those thoughts to be true. And so it's hard to see it from your own perspective or from your own position, or in other words, it's hard to see it in yourself. So the art or the skill of developing this understanding is first to take a step back a bit, to detach yourself at least momentarily from these thoughts and belief systems and just really question what's going on here. Wait a minute, these stories that I keep telling myself that cause me to paint this bleak or hopeless or negative picture towards life or towards my ability to achieve financial independence, job security, the work of my dreams, the relationship that I want, the friendships that I want, the romantic partner that I want. Wait a minute, how is this serving me? Wait a minute, why do I always gravitate towards that kind of negative view or that kind of story that I use to tell myself about how, oh, that thing that I want is impossible. It doesn't exist. It's too late for me. I'll never achieve it. Notice that there is a desire here. Desire for what? By desiring to find some story to explain your current circumstances, you feel a sense of understanding. We could call that a desire for control. So you look back into the past and you brood about it. You overthink it. You use it to inflict further suffering and misery on yourself out of a place of desiring, of needing or wanting or desiring some sense of understanding, some sense of control. So in order to be able to let go of this or jailbreak this pattern, we need to learn to let go of that control. And we'll talk about this in next week's video, where it actually takes a lot of self-control to let go of the need to control other things, to control outside circumstances, which includes overthinking and brooding about your past. Because by definition, the past is no longer existent, right? It's gone. It's beyond your control. So attempting to control something that you cannot truly control is counterproductive. I want you to think about that for a moment. When you look back to your past to explain your current misery today, it's only an attempt to control something which you never really truly had any control over. So it's not helpful to look back into the past in this way. Or, in other words, it's not helpful to look back to your past with a sense of powerlessness or a sense of helplessness. Even though you think you might get some sort of satisfaction by at least understanding or justifying or explaining your misery, or feeling grounded in your sense of identity. This is why victim mentality or victim mindset is very attractive. And in many regards, this is why it's hard to jailbreak from this or get out of this pattern, because it's attractive to the sense of identity. It serves your sense of groundedness in who you feel, think, and believe you are. It takes a lot of emotional self-awareness skills to rise above that per se. And again, we'll talk about that in future videos. So I want you to first of all notice and contemplate what's going on here. Ask yourself these simple questions. Number one, how am I looking back into my past? And how is that serving me as I go forward into the future? Why do I have a constant need to look back into my past experiences, in order to justify my current beliefs that I hold today? Contemplate on that a little bit. Be playful with your own belief systems. Look at it from a sense of curiosity. Take a step back, regain some perspective, and really look at what's going on. And you will learn a lot more about yourself. So, the point is, this is not to say that we should never look back into the past, but only look back into your past if you're coming from a place of wisdom. See? And that's a whole different way of looking at it. That's a whole different approach in and of itself. If you look back into your past to draw from and to get the lessons from it, then we could say that's a more helpful way of looking at it. But if you're looking back into your past to explain your current state of misery, what you're doing is nothing more than actually keeping yourself in that bad, dark room, in that place, and making it even worse. Okay? The language that you use, the way that you explain to yourself about who you are and why you are the way you are today, this reveals a lot about your belief systems. I want you to begin to play with it a little bit. Contemplate on it, consider it. Be curious about it, without needing to judge yourself for holding these beliefs, or without needing to judge yourself for having those ways of thinking. Okay? So, again, to sum it up, we unwittingly continue to cause ourselves misery today by living in the story that your mind creates or tries to tell you or tries to get you to believe about why you are the way you are today. And we look back to the past in a sense of, if you look back into the past in this kind of way, what you're really doing is you're coming from a place of desiring some sense of control or understanding, but ultimately it's not helpful. An easy way to think about this is, have you ever been overthinking about something, brooding and overthinking about something that you're worried about? It seems good in terms of the surface level logic, right? If I overthink it, I'll think about it in 1,000 different ways. I'll revisit this issue 1,000 times and I'll find the answer. And if I find the answer, I'll be able to do something about it. It seems logical, right? But actually, if you really ask yourself, wait a minute, what am I doing here? you'll notice that in all those times that you overthink and overworry, it never really leads to any place helpful or liberating or empowering. It only serves you to feel more out of control, more helpless, more hopeless, more powerless. Okay, so think about that. Okay? And as we continue to dive into this and contemplate what's going on here, you'll begin to notice that these beliefs have no grounding to them. And that is why you can completely change them. Because a belief is nothing more than a thought you keep on thinking. It is not grounded in anything tangible. It is nothing more than a thought pattern, a thought habit, the same way of interpreting something, thinking about something, the same attitudes you keep adopting, the same way you keep processing your information. Thought habits. A belief is nothing more than a thought you keep on thinking. And this is why it is completely possible to turn this sense of powerlessness around. And it's completely well within your reach to do so, even if it may not seem like that today. Okay, and we'll talk about that in next week's video. But to sum it up and conclude here for now is, in order to overcome this, you must first of all develop some emotional skill set, emotional self-awareness skill set, emotional coping skills. Because you need to be able to see your beliefs and thinking and emotions without reacting to them. Only from this place can you then get some perspective that these thoughts are not reality. Thoughts are just thoughts, they're not reality. Feelings are not facts. And you have more power than you may currently believe or realize. You have more power to change and challenge them, to become more helpful for you, to become more empowering, and to serve you as you look forward into your future. As we all know, people who feel powerful in their lives look forward into their future. They don't look back. Okay? Think about that. I hope this was valuable. I'll see you next time as we continue to talk about how to address these issues. สวัสดีครับ